Next guest is using his experience as an athlete to help other athletes with their mental health. Ivan Tchatchouwo was a basketball player at Concordia College and is the founder and CEO of The Zone, which is a program that helps student athletes improve their mental fitness. We're also joined by Vanessa Perdomo, who at Quicktake covers the business of sports for us and has spoken to a handful of athletes on this issue. Thank both of you for being here. Now, Ivan, what made you want to create The Zone?
Thank you for having me. First of all, I think it was just a personal experience. I want to say going into my junior year, I struggled with a big bout of depression and identity crisis when I got injured. And, being a student athlete, I put everything into 12 years into my life prior to that, into, my performance, and getting injured and my career ending. I had no idea what I was going through. So, I took it upon myself to really think about, okay, what are the steps? What actually happened to me and what's actually happened to like teammates, peers, and how can I attack this issue? And it was so early on, right? You got to think about in I want to say 2015, nobody was talking about these things. So, we started really attacking it in the smallest way with the youth, and then, learning about how tech can impact the space and about how the problems are to grow, right? When you think about the mental space, everybody understands the physical aspects, what can happen to an ACL, what can happen to a meniscus, but nobody really understands the chemical imbalances and what draws to like performance anxiety, right? The pressure. So, after going through personal experience, myself and my co-founder, Eric, we really took it upon ourselves to learn the research and attack it and make sure that student athletes that's dealing with the things that we dealt with, have support in their pocket, have a system. We know schools can't really hire X amount of staff members. So, yeah, it became very important to us early on.
And Ivan, how is the discussion of mental health sort of changing right now in the locker rooms or amongst athletes? I mean, is everybody sort of accepting and open about how they're feeling and sort of the chemical imbalances that you're talking about?
It's always been like lack of awareness, right? So when you think about it, when you don't know what you're going through, it's hard to speak on it. When you actually don't have a name to exactly what you're going through, it's really hard to speak on it, right? But now with leaders in athletics coming out and speaking about these different topics, different companies coming out and solving these issues, we're giving a space for athletes to at least internally in those locker rooms have these discussions. Now, with these discussions happening, more and more athletes are like, you know what, I align with this. I align with this. How can I better deal with this? What are the solutions that I can take on? So that's what's happening right now. We're in a real stage of awareness. And I think it's critical, right, for the future generation of athletes to understand that there is a space of, you're going through X, and this is potentially the solution, and this is the people that's talked about it. So it's a real important time.
Vanessa, bring us your reporting. What are athletes telling you about the most prominent reasons that they are suffering mental health issues as they pursue their sports? What's happening on and off the field?
Last year was one of the first times that people felt that they had the time to really step back and feel like, wow, my mental health is just as important as my physical health. It's not something that athletes felt they had the time to figure out before, but with the pandemic and them training at home, they really got to work down to the nitty gritty, and they felt that, when you're not your most physical peak, it actually does affect you. The way you go through injuries affects the way you're mental so much, and it has to do with the pressure. Simone Biles is out here, and everyone's telling her she's the GOAT, and she's embracing it. But at the same time, having to go out there and compete, win gold, and you're expected to win gold every time, it's not the easiest thing to do, especially on the Olympic stage.
Absolutely. And Ivan, I mean, it's hard to believe that schools are starting soon, sports are starting soon. I mean, I wonder, given the pandemic, sort of given where we're at in this conversation with mental health, I wonder, are the tools that you give athletes at this point in time, are they changing? I mean, how are you adjusting, sort of given what we're seeing at this point in time?
I think the first thing to think about is, we took a very hard research set on what can work, right? And the consumer at best has to be in a position to succeed, right? How can they have ownership of what does well-being and wellness mean to them? And within our platform, that's what the approach that we took on, right? How do we give them the ability to understand how they're doing and then have different access points to reach, whether it's content, whether it's a staff member, right? Whether it's access to care. How do we get you there? Because we knew the percentages were very low, and 10% of student athletes actually going to these facilities that's provided by their institution. So technology steps in a place where we know that you need to understand what it is you're actually going through to get you to that next step, right? And, you know, the schools that we're finalizing a lot of partnerships with, they're very innovative, and they understand that, you know, the well-being of their student athletes is very important, and it can lead to a lot of the things, success, right? When you think about being a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, all of these things are impacted at that stage. So prioritizing the well-being of these students is at the first line of support that we've thought about when building out this platform, and the changes that we made is continuously listening to them. So that's been our priority to date.
Ivan, is this something that you feel that now schools are embracing more, now that we'll see these huge athletes coming forward? Do you think that now this is going to be national, that you're not even going to have to go out to the schools? They're going to come to you and say, hey, we need help with our athletes' mental health?
I think that the biggest thing to think about that is it's a generational thing, right? When you look at the staff members in schools, they're of older age and a different generation. And then the student athletes are getting younger. So how do you create a line of communication and understanding that, you know, this does lead into performance, right? Because they do have a business entity to take care of, but then they have the people to take care of too. So when we're talking to the school is we're letting them know, like, this isn't just a thing to do, right? This isn't just a 1-year thing. This is a 4-year, 5-year, a long-term commitment that you're making into a child's life. And that's going to have forever impact, right? So schools are starting to really think about, okay, how do I align a budget for this, right? Before, you had one staff member sometimes take care of 441 on average student athletes. When you think about it, that's one person caring for 441 people.
Ivan, we have to leave it there, but that is Ivan Tchatchouwo, founder of The Zone, and Vanessa Perdomo of Quicktake. Thank you both for your time.
I'm Jennifer Zapasaggia. Thanks for watching.
And I'm Shanali Bassick.